Thank you guys. That was awesome. Yes, yes, Lord. Totally needed that. Well, good morning, One Step. How's everybody doing? I'm Pastor Yoli. If you don't know who I am, I'm Richard's wife. I am blessed to have him as my husband. No, it's awesome. We've been married a long time. You know who I am. So I get the honor of closing off the Walking Dead series. Yeah, this is definitely a big thing for us. I have to tell you, this was birthed, I think, in May or June when we came up with this series, and nothing would have prepared us for all that was going on in the world when we first started. I don't think you guys realized that the Sunday we started this series was right after the Saturday that Hamas attacked Israel. And look, getting goosebumps. It was very evident that God was speaking through us. Not that we're that special, He loves us all, but it was one of those that God wants us to pay attention. And when we were hearing about this, to do this series back in May or June, we could have never predicted what was going to happen. We actually also had an Israel trip planned. And back in April, we decided, no, prayerfully, God was telling us not to do it. And there you go. It's evident, and it's very helpful when you discern the Word of God, because He can do big things in terms of that. So we praise Him for that. So I'm going to recap the sermon for the series. Walking Dead is not just a way to bring in popular culture. It is definitely actually something that is biblical. I'll just read it. Ephesians 2, 1 through 10. And you He made alive who were dead in trespasses and sins, in which you once walked according to the course of this world, according to the prince of the power of the air, which we learned last week was the devil, the spirit who now works in the sons of disobedience, among whom also we are once conducted ourselves in the lust of our flesh, fulfilling the desires of the flesh and of the mind, and were by nature children of wrath, just as the others. But God, who is rich in His mercy, because of His great love for which He loved us, even when we were dead in trespasses, made us alive together with Christ. By grace you have been saved, and raised us up together, and made us sit together in the heavenly places in Christ Jesus, that in the ages to come He might show the exceeding riches of His grace and His kindness toward us in Christ Jesus. For by grace you have been saved through faith, and not of yourselves. It is a gift of God, not of works, lest anyone should boast. For we are His workmanship, created in Christ Jesus for good works, which God prepared beforehand that we should walk in them. All right, so before Christ, we were walking dead. We didn't know Him. We were doing things we shouldn't, and we didn't even have that conviction. I'm sure you can envision people right now. They're doing things they shouldn't, and it just doesn't faze them. It would faze you if you're with Christ. And it makes such a difference when we are with Him, because we hear His voice. We know what's going on. And if you look around, this world is getting crazy. It is crazy. Our world's a mess. Well, everything that has a beginning has an end. Not going to lie. You're not going to like what I'm going to say, but at one point this will end. There will be an end to this earth. There will be an end to this life and everything that God created here. But, as my title suggests, there is a new hope. So if you haven't figured out yet, I'm kind of a Star Wars geek. And if you know anything, you know that's the title of the first actual episode 4, A New Hope, where things were really bad. And in that movie, there was a new hope, right? There was, the whole lineage of Skywalker. We won't get into that. Anyway. But we are in a definite mess right now. Last year, you might have been looking at the whole stuff with Russia and Ukraine and go, ooh, things are bad. And then it continues on and, ooh, things are even more bad. This stuff with Israel is real, people. We need to pay attention. And the things that are happening are not unexpected. God knew it was going to happen. God said it was going to happen. And we have a lot of points to that. Even secular studies show or claim that things are going to end. I mean, it's a much crazier number, but according to science, the sun only has 5 billion years left. It's a lot of years. But actually, it doesn't matter if it survives 5 billion years after. In 1 billion years, it's going to become a red giant and engulf the earth. So if we're here in 1 billion years, we're not going to be here because the earth will burn up according to science. Okay? So many people wonder, why should we care about this? Why do we care about end times? Well, because it matters to God. God cared. Jesus cared. Jesus mentioned it repeatedly. And this is one of the things he would admonish his disciples and the Pharisees. It was one point in Luke 12:56, he was talking to his disciples directly. He said, "Hypocrites, you can discern the face of the sky and of the earth, but how is it you do not discern this time?" So kind of like us, focusing on like the weather, what's coming, global warming, all that kind of stuff. Great, we're paying attention to all that, but we're not paying attention to the signs of the times, what's going on. And that's Jesus talking to us as well. He was actually recorded, and a lot of people don't realize this. He was recorded 3 times talking about end times. In Mark, Luke, and Matthew. It's called the Olivet Discourse because he did it on the Mount of Olives. Him and his disciples were talking. He had just been literally going after like the Pharisees, and he was talking to them about things going on. And he predicted one of the things he predicted had actually come true. And you see in Mark 13, 1 through 2, he was speaking to his disciples, and then as he went out of the temple, one of his disciples said to him, "Teacher, what manner of stones and buildings are here?" They're looking at the temple in Jerusalem, pretty much telling Jesus, "Come on, look at all this. It's huge. This is not going to happen," right? And then Jesus answered and said to him, "Do you see these great buildings? Not one stone shall be left upon another that shall not be thrown down." Do you know what? In 70 AD, that's exactly what happened. The temple was torn down by the Romans. Jesus had predicted the destruction of the temple. There's so many things that happen, and it becomes this fascination with society in terms of end times and the prediction, see soothsayers and all that. All of that is for naught if you're not going after Christ. This study, though, in biblical studies and in any, actually, because end times is not just Christianity, right? It's called eschatology. So, word of the day. If you ever wanted to know what that meant, in Greek, it means the study of last things. So when you hear eschatology, we're talking about end times, end things, how things will end. I know that I was a student, a reader of the Left Behind series. If you don't know what I'm talking about, in the 90s, I think it was a fiction series. Tim LaHaye and Jenkins, they wrote this series about how the world would end according to biblical times. Now, there were some flaws with it, and especially with timing and a lot of criticism. But you know what? God uses everything, and I have to tell you, it was a great way to bring people into awareness of what was going on in the world and what might be coming. And they actually wrote a lot of stuff in the book that hadn't been existing yet that is now around today, like solar-powered phones or satellites that can transmit things at the same time. And this was in the 90s. So don't discount them too much. But that was definitely one of those things that I loved reading because I was fascinated with this. I am a student of end times, right? I love reading those things. But if I can't change it, what's the point in studying it? Well, like we said, God finds it important. And we see it in many other religions and cultures. Do you understand that Islam has their own version of end times? So does Judaism. Do you know that Islam's version of end times includes Jesus Christ coming back? His name, Christ, in there. They call him Isa. And there is a actual eternal dwelling of paradise and hell. There is a resurrection. The only thing that in theirs, they have Jesus coming back and saying, "Nope, I'm a Muslim," and, and changing all of that. There's no evidence for that per se, but that's their version. But you cannot deny the similarities. It is literally the same. There's a final judgment, eternal dwelling, etc. Judaism. Obviously, Judaism, in Jewish eschatology, they just don't believe that the Messiah has come yet. Well, he has. That's Jesus Christ. But they foretell the Jewish people coming back to their land. That's happened. Okay? Restoring the house of David and the temple in Jerusalem. Pay attention, wait for it. It's coming. And when you see that, pay real close attention. Because things are getting real. Well, they're real already, but you know what I mean. Then They're ushering in a messianic age. There's a resurrection of death and creating a new heaven and earth, just like Becky talked last week, not 2 weeks ago. Heaven and earth heaven coming down to earth, a new Jerusalem. That's all foretold in the Jewish religion as well. This is not a coincidence. God is working in us, and what we do with it is what is important. Now, how do we know this stuff is real? I could be reading from a biblical fiction book and telling you it's real. Sure, I was one of those people. I would tell people all the time, there's so many people that write the book in the Bible. They interpret things differently. It's all different. They contradict. When your scales are removed from your eyes and God has done something in your life that you cannot explain, you read that book again and you see, that's what you were saying, Lord. Right? The New Testament is the Old Testament fulfilled. Jesus was in the Old Testament repeatedly. The miracles are real. You can see it in the real life miracles of today. So don't ever discount it. Look at it with an open heart and understand that this end time stuff is very important. We shouldn't obsess about it because we've got things to do, but we got to pay attention because things are coming. So what better way than to look at a Bible or a book that's proven historically, archaeologically, exegetically, internally. It backs itself up. There's no other book that does this. The amount of prophecies that are fulfilled by Jesus Christ is statistically impossible. Look it up. It's like 1 in a trillion, 100 trillion, something like that. There's no way in heaven that it would have happened on earth without it being God's intervention. And that gives us the validity and the truth to know that it is real. There is so much evidence to it. So let's look at one part of it. With end times and Christianity, this is what we're focusing on because we know what we know, and this is real. In the book of Daniel in the Old Testament, Daniel himself was a prophet. We'll talk about him another day. We're actually going to probably do a series on him. But in Daniel 7, 8, and 11, he describes it to a T, the ebb and flow of the 4 empires from Babylon to Medo-Persia to Greece to Rome. He even foresaw, he wrote this hundreds of years before, the Greek conqueror Alexander the Great. He predicted him and his final fall to a T. That's not coincidence. In Micah, 7th century BC, think out the 7th century, way before Christ. In Micah 5:2, but you Bethlehem, this is talking about the birth of Jesus Christ or the Messiah. But you Bethlehem, Ephrathah, means fruitful. Though you are little among the thousands of Judah, yet out of you shall come forth to me the one to be ruler in Israel, whose going forth are from old, from everlasting. Micah was foretelling the birth of the Messiah. Now, Jesus lived in Nazareth. That didn't make sense. He was born in Bethlehem. Well, God orchestrated it that Herod had to do a census, and Joseph, who was from that, had to pick up Mary and go back to Bethlehem to get counted. She was, of course, about to give birth, so Jesus was born in Bethlehem. How is that possible? It's not like Joseph was looking up the Old Testament saying, let me make sure this kid is born over there because I know he's the Messiah. No, back then, Joseph, our series last year, he was having a crisis of faith. He wasn't even believing all this. He was like, okay, God, I'll do whatever you tell me, but are you sure? All of this occurred. So why mention this? To again reiterate the validity of the Bible. When Bible has been right about so many things, why would we doubt what it's talking about for the future? Why do we sit there and say, oh, that's not going to happen, that's crazy? A whole bunch of stuff has already happened. Why would we discount that? We don't want to be prideful in this. I know it's hard. When you have so much that you think you know, but then these things come in and just make you recheck yourself and wait, are you there really, God? It is evident that he is doing an amazing work. And when we look at end times, it's just more proof of what he's trying to do in our life. Now, if you look up, I have a short timeline. It took me a while to look through these things. There's a lot of timelines, very detailed. This is about the most general one I can find. And Daniel starts with the book of Daniel and talks about the different things that he prophesied with the different types of countries that came in and out. I'll make sure this is on a resource later on, so don't worry if you don't see it. But you have 69 weeks of Daniel's prophecy, and then you see the cross. That is the crucifixion of Christ. That marks what's called the church age. That's where we're in right now, in the church age. We'll talk about that in a second. The next event on the biblical end times calendar is the rapture. I'm sure you've heard about this. If not, we're going to talk about it in just a minute, so hold on. After the rapture, there's 7 years of tribulation, and that's very specific. This is not like, 7,000 years. No, it's 7 years, and I have some verses to back that up. First 3.5 years look okay. Some bad stuff really happens, and then the next 3.5 years is beyond belief of what is coming. Then Jesus Christ will come the second coming, millennial reign. There's questions about where is Armageddon in here? Is that when the second coming or after? Either way, there's a final judgment, and you end up with eternity here on earth. Okay? It is a lot to take in, especially when we're in what's called the church age. So we'll start with that. This is the point I'm going to take the longest because this is the time frame in the events that is going to be the longest. The church age is long. Now, why do you think God is doing that? He wants everybody to come to him. He's giving us many chances as possible. If God really wanted to end this all, he'd have to go, okay, we're done. Jesus Christ would have been crucified. All right, guys, we're done. No, he's allowed generation after generation to be born because he has people that he has chosen. He crafted you in your womb. He knew you were going to be born. No one was a mistake. And he wants something for your life. And this, we are all a part of that. We are waiting for the next step. We are in the church age. How do we know this? Well, Jesus himself talked about it in this Olivet Discourse in Matthew 24. The first thing we're going to look at is wars and conflicts. Now, we know conflicts are not new. They've been around forever. But it's the frequency, intensity that God foretold that is evident. We have a slide here where you see the increments of actual conflicts, one country to another, from 1870 to 1990. I haven't even included the 2000s. On average, it's been at least 2% per year. You see a lot of ups and downs, that's normal. But when you see what's called a trend line, if anybody who studies statistics, sorry, nerding out there, there's an upward trend. You see that. That's not a coincidence. Jesus said this would happen. In Matthew 24, 6-8, we're going to read the first part. And you will hear of wars and rumors of wars. This is Jesus' mouth. No, not somebody saying whatever. He said this. See that you are not troubled, for all these things must come to pass. But the end is not yet, for nation will rise against nation and kingdom against kingdom. He's basically telling us this is going to happen. You've seen it. You've seen wars. It's like, this makes no sense. Why are they fighting? It's a part of it. It's all a part of what God is foretelling. The next thing we see in the church age, that you see it a lot as well, especially us living in Miami, natural disasters. Natural disasters. Hurricanes, earthquakes, all that kind of stuff. Let's look at what Jesus said about it. This is the next part of Matthew 24, 6-8. And there will be famines, pestilences, COVID, and earthquakes in various places. And all these are the beginnings of sorrows. So yes, all these things have been around since the beginning. But it's how much we see of it. The increase in frequency, the increase in all of these things. Do you know that even the U.S. Geological Society acknowledges that earthquakes are increasing? Since about 1900, which they started actually recording records of earthquakes, there's about 16 a year. In the past 40 years, it's jumped to about 12 times or a dozen times the average. Earthquakes are increasing. Look at hurricanes. You hear it all the time. There was a hurricane in Acapulco that killed 27 people. They didn't know it was going to be a hurricane category 5 till a few hours before. They could not predict it. Out of nowhere, this happened. We cannot deny that these are the things that are occurring. Whether it be global warming or people or natural cycle of the earth, it does not matter. It is happening more. And we have to pay attention. Persecution. Christians are going to be persecuted. We live in a country where we don't see that very much. We get passive aggressively persecuted. We get like cancel culture, right? And then we cry about it. That's not real persecution. In Nigeria right now, 3 out of 4 martyrs are being killed in Nigeria right now. 13 Christians worldwide are killed because of their faith every day. 12 churches are attacked every day. 5 are abducted every day. There's a ratio of 1 in 8 Christians. When you look at all the countries that are facing persecution, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, persecution. And I'm not talking being canceled, being ignored at work because you're a Jesus Bible thumper, whatever, right? We're talking arrested, kidnapped, killed, whatever, because of their Christian faith. The 2021 World Watch List has added country after country to this top 50. We're now up to 50 countries that are super against Christians, including Cuba, Sri Lanka, United Arab Emirates, right? We cannot deny it. This is only going to get worse before it gets better. And a part of that, we're also going to have false prophets and deception. Jesus warned of this in Matthew 24:11. Then many prophets will rise up and deceive many. The David Koresh's of the world. If you don't know what I'm talking about, look up Waco. Waco was famous, unfortunately, before Magnolia. They had a cult camp where a man convinced everybody he was God. And people were giving them their children to get married and have, it was awful. There was a pastor here in Miami who first told everybody he was Christ, and then he was Antichrist, and had people putting 666 on tattoos. Do not be surprised when you see these things. It is coming. It is going to get worse, and don't pay attention to them. Somebody says they're Christ, don't pay attention. Just rebuke them, because that ain't God. We need to be aware. This one, moral decay. Moral decay is getting awful. In Matthew 24:12-13, Jesus says, and because lawlessness will abound, the love of many will grow cold. That's that cold-heartedness. But he who endures to the end shall be saved. We are going to have a general increase in wickedness. I made this sermon before the main shooting. And all I kept getting was questions like why he did it. Nobody still knows. He just randomly started shooting people. Whatever you call it, demon, mental illness, evil, it is real. You should still be disappointed and heartbroken, but this should not be a surprise. We are told that this is going to happen, and it's just going to get worse. Again, this is not where we hide. We don't sit there and wait. We keep being who we are, and we are Christians, and we do what we're supposed to do. Now, we move faster in this. Like in reality, the next end of end times is attributed to labor pains. Anybody who had kids know what I'm talking about. Labor is really long, and then the birth is really short. Like, wow, all this for this? Right? God equated that in the same way. In 1 Thessalonians 5:1-3, but concerning the times and the seasons, brethren, you have no need that I should write to you. For you yourselves know perfectly that the day of the Lord so comes as a thief in the night. No one knows. Somebody tells you they know when he's coming, they're lying. I love it that people can calculate. Listen, Jesus said repeatedly, you will not know. For when they say peace and safety, then sudden destruction comes upon them as labor pains upon a pregnant woman, and they shall not escape. Once labor starts, you can't stop it. Quick side note, it's one of the only 2 positive feedback mechanisms in the body. Instead of something happening and you reduce it, it actually increases. The more hormones for contractions, the bigger the contractions get. So the closer you get to the birth, the more painful and the more frequent. Sounds like end times. This is why it's equated to this. And we are all just waiting for the next step. So the next part, the next event on the timeline is the rapture. Ooh, that's a controversial one. There's some Christians that don't believe it's going to occur. There's some Christians that they all have it in different times. I'm going to give you 3 verses to back this up. So please, I apologize, but I will read clearly for you. You can write them down. The first verse that I'll mention, and there's more, 1 Thessalonians 4:15 through 18. For the Lord himself will descend from heaven with a shout, with the voice of an archangel, with the trumpet of God, and the dead in Christ will rise first. Okay, so the dead that came before, the ones are going to go first. Then we who are alive and remain shall be caught up together with them in the clouds to meet the Lord in the air. It's not die and come back. No, we're going to be picked up. It makes no sense, and people think, oh, that's not possible. It's already been recorded in the Bible. We've had people that have been caught up in the air, alive. And thus we shall always be with the Lord, therefore comfort one another with these words. So it's a comfort. Yeah, we're going to have all these things, but we will be with God. Another one, 1 Corinthians 15:51 through 22. Listen, I tell you a mystery. We will not all sleep. Sleep in the Bible means death. So we will not all die, but we will all be changed in a flash, in the twinkling of an eye. How fast is the twinkling of an eye? At the last trumpet. For the trumpet will sound, the dead will be raised imperishable, and we will be changed. Twinkling of an eye. Last one I'll bring up. Luke 17:30 through 35. It will be just like this on the day the Son of Man is revealed. On that day, no one who is on the housetop with possessions inside should go back and get them. Like, you're not going to tell God, wait, hold on, I got to get my stuff. No. You're just going to get picked up and go. Likewise, no one in the field should go back for anything. Remember Lot's wife? That's in Sodom and Gomorrah. Lot and his wife tried to leave. She actually looked back because she still wanted to hang on to the things that she had, and she turned into a pillar of salt. Remember Lot's wife. Whoever tries to keep their life will lose it, and whoever loses their life will preserve it. I tell you, on that night, 2 people will be in one bed. One will be taken, the other left. 2 women will be grinding the grain together, and one will be taken and the other left. Hence the Left Behind series. That's what they call it, right? We're not going to know. Remember, God is the only one that knows everybody's heart. So you may think you're going and you stay. And you're like, oh, what'd I do? Or you think somebody else is not going, oh, they're definitely not going. And all of a sudden they're taken up and you're like, oh. God knows your heart, and he knows your intentions. Now, when this occurs is a little bit of a controversy. Here at One Step, we believe it's a pre-tribulation rapture because of certain verses that we have. Some Christians believe mid or post. Others believe that it's later on with the second judgment. Honestly, it really doesn't matter. It's going to happen. Revelation 3:10, proof of or evidence for the pre-tribulation. Because you have kept my commandment to persevere, I also will keep you from the hour of trial, which will come upon the whole world to test those who dwell on the earth. He's talking about the tribulation. So he's basically saying, I'm going to pick you up before this happens. Don't worry. I've got you covered. Also in Jeremiah 30, this is actually Old Testament, alas, for the day is great, so that none is like it. Again, talking about tribulation. And it is a time of Jacob's trouble, but he shall be saved out of it. God's people will be saved from this trouble. We are not going to be sitting here during the Great Tribulation. So don't panic thinking, oh gosh, we got to start storing food. We'll be gone before it gets that bad. Not, that we shouldn't be prepared for things, but it's not like that. There's so many other things to come. And what we think is so horrible is nothing compared to what's coming. So after the rapture, then we have the Great Tribulation. And you can imagine the chaos that would be in this world if all the Christians are taken up at one time. There's been lots of stories about it. Shoot, even Infinity War did the whole snap, and, there's always biblical things you see in stories. It comes from a basis of something else. And it would cause chaos. And from this chaos, you're going to see a lot of judgments, trials, and the rise of the Antichrist figure. The Antichrist might be here on this earth, but we don't know it, and he's not revealing himself. This is not his time. He has a time. It isn't now. This brings us to the third event, which is the Great Tribulation. Again, we're not going to be here. But woe to those who will be. These are your family, your friends, Whew, thinking about it, they do not know Christ. They will be left behind with this insanity. Matthew 24, again from Jesus' mouth, 24, 22. For then there will be great tribulation, such as has not been seen since the beginning of the world until this time, nor ever shall be. And unless those days were shortened, no flesh would be saved. For the elect's sake, those days will be shortened. So basically, Jesus is saying, we're going to have tribulation, but it's going to be short, because if not, no one's going to survive. Because they still, even after the rapture, God is still giving second chances. He still wants people to come to him. Another one, Daniel 12:1. At that time, Michael, Manny mentioned him last week, one of the angels, a great prince who protects your people, will arise. And there will be a time of distress, such as not happened from the beginning of nations until now. But at that time, your people, everyone whose name is found written in the book, will be delivered. Those who are Christians would have been delivered. And there's going to be new Christians after the rapture. You can imagine it. I tease with my husband. I always leave journals of everything I write from sermons and everything. So if we are raptured, other people can read it so that they can come to Christ. Leave it behind, people. If you can't convince them now, make sure they have some evidence of it later so you can see them afterwards. Now, mind you, they're going to go through a lot more than you did, but there's still hope. There's always still hope. It's going to be a terrible time. You're going to have the rise of the Antichrist. I won't read it, but look in Revelation 13. He is referred to as the beast. Now, I don't remember if it was Becky or Manny you mentioned, the enemy is a great imposter. He likes to imitate God. So what better way to imitate God than to have his own son, the Antichrist? He's going to be the embodiment of the devil here on earth, doing the will of the enemy. And he's going to be a great deceiver. The first 3.5 years of the Great Tribulation are actually going to be looking pretty good. It's going to be the time of rapture. It's going to be chaos, and he's going to rise up as a figure and calm everybody down. He's going to be politically, financially, he's going to be helping the world. At least it's going to look like it. And then at the halfway mark, at 3.5 years, that's when he says, okay, I'm done pretending. And there will be the abomination of desolation. He's going to basically desecrate the Jerusalem temple that would have been rebuilt. He's going to do horrible things, deceive tons of people. He's going to have signs and wonders like Christ did here. He's going to have miracles. He's going to do things, and people are going to go, see, it's him. Yay, it's Christ. And it's not. It's the enemy. And that precedes the next step, because God ain't going to put up with this. He's coming back. The return of Christ. Following that tribulation period of 7 years. And write this down, because if we're gone and that's all that's left at the beginning of tribulation or the rapture, those people can count 7 years from that day and know that God's coming back. Give them that hope. It's referred to as the second coming commonly, and he will defeat the forces of evil and establish his millennial kingdom. Jesus said this himself in Matthew 24:29-31. Immediately after the tribulation of those days, the sun will be darkened, and the moon will not give its light. The stars will fall from heaven, and the powers of heaven will be shaken. Then the sign of the Son of Man, some people think it's a cross, will appear in heaven. And then all the tribes of the earth will mourn, and they will see the Son of Man coming on the clouds of heaven with power and great glory. He will send his angels with a great sound of a trumpet, and they will gather together his elect from the four winds, from one end of heaven to the other. We're all coming back with him. We're all coming back with him, and we're going to be just coming in to do that final battle, take over, and it's like, no, enemy, you lost. We're here. We're taking back over. Revelation 1:7. Look, he is coming in the clouds, and every eye will see him. Back then when they wrote this, do you think there was ever way possible that could occur? But they knew it. They saw it in their visions. Well, guess what? Can that happen today? Didn't we get like an emergency signal a couple weeks to everybody in the United States at the same time? The stuff that is foretold before, a lot of times are the technology that we see today, and they didn't know what it was. You'll see like discussion of lights and clouds, and They don't know what it is. It's most likely missiles and smoke screens and other things, satellites, things that they would have no understanding of. This is thousands of years ago. Acts 1:11, men of Galilee, why do you stand looking into the heaven? This Jesus who was taken up from you into heaven will come in the same way as you saw him go. So they saw him ascend, they will see him. We will see him come back. Actually, we'll be coming with him. Everybody else will see him. Everyone will see it. Some will be scared. Some will be excited. Some will know not what to do. And it doesn't matter because God is doing all this to make sure that we are waiting for him. I'm not going to go too deep in it because of time, but there will be a final battle, Armageddon. Unlike what people think, Armageddon is not the name of the battle, it's the name of a place. It's the Valley of Megiddo. And Napoleon himself described this valley as one of the best places to have a battle because of the valleys and the hills. And it is where the final battle will take place. It's even described that the amount of blood that will be shed will go up to the necks of the horses. I mean, we're talking a nasty battle. It's the final battle. There will be a judgment. The millennium. Christ will come on earth. He'll literally reign for 1,000 years. And it's going to be peaceful. There'll be righteousness. There'll be children that can be born because there's people that came after rapture to Christ, right? And they're still in their earthly bodies. It will be a time of righteousness. But there will be people born that don't know of what happened before. You ever seen that? Like kids born after 9/11 don't understand the traumas we have with planes getting too close to a building or when things like emergency, systems turn on. Those historical things, those people born in that time won't understand what had occurred before. So the enemy will be released one more time. Him and his servants. We haven't even talked about those people yet. And when he does that, he will give them one more chance to try and convince others to come with him, and then he's done. The final battle and judgment. We talk about the great white throne judgment. That's for another day. But if you are a believer, you're accepted into heaven, but then Jesus will give you your ranking according to what you've done on earth. So if you've done nothing, I'm not sitting here guilting you, but if I gave my life to the Lord and then you hid and didn't tell anything about it, okay, well, you're going to get what you get. Right? There's stories, people always talk about missionaries that they're the ones you'll see in heaven with the biggest palaces and stuff, but they're the ones on earth that are discounted the most. There's people out there that do so much for God, and we don't even know their name. We will later. We'll be like, oh, I don't know who you were, but you did all that, right? And eventually, like Becky described a couple weeks ago, we will have a new heaven and a new earth. It will be here on earth. And unlike what people thought, I don't know why God told me to say this right now, it's not about sitting around and fanning yourself. Heaven is a place where we still work and do things. Adam and Eve fell into sin and had to work harder, but it's not that they didn't work before. They had work and it was just fruitful. It was easier. So we'll be doing stuff for God. We'll still be tilling the earth. We'll be doing whatever it is he's called us to do. What that looks like is not as clear because that scripture it hasn't been revealed to us with what's going on. But it is clear that it's going to be here on heaven. Heaven will be on earth, and we will be working for him. Good boss. And I want to emphasize that this timeline I gave you is very simplified. This is an overview. Please don't take this as, oh, Yoli didn't mention this, or Yoli didn't mention this. I know I didn't. We'd be here for a week, at least. But what I did for you, if you are interested in this, there's a QR code that's going to come up, and I will be adding to it. It's just a Google Doc with links. You got some videos. You have some website links. You have some books. My parents are laughing because I'm nerding out with Google Docs. But you already have resources from many of the prominent end times prophecy experts. Greg Laurie, David Jeremiah, Tim LaHaye. There's a lot of people out there looking at this. And again, should we focus on this only? Of course not. We have so much other things to do, so many other things to do. We are not meant to just focus on this. We need to pay attention. Jesus said this repeatedly. We need to pay attention to the times. When we are watching the things with Israel, when we're watching, pay attention to Russia, pay attention to China, pay attention. Again, I'm not a predictor. I'm not telling you what's going to happen, but it's getting interesting. There's a lot of movement that only makes sense in the biblical realm. Other people are like, why is this happening? And you're like, because it's been foretold that it's going to happen. This is not a coincidence. I mean, Revelation, talk about the bear. Talk about the I couldn't even get into it. Look up Ezekiel 37 and 38. How the countries of the north will attack Israel. What's the biggest threat right now for Israel? The north. So, enough sensationalism in this, shall we say. It is one of my favorite topics, so anytime you want to talk about it, come and talk to me. I love it. 3 things I want you to remember. 3 things that I want you to take away. Not about the end of time and all that kind of stuff. First, you got to love people every day. If you aren't the epitome of what Christ is to others, why are they going to listen to you about end times or things are coming? If you are that person that wants to win the battle, not the war, and you go after people because they said something different or whatever, that's not being Christ-like. We need to be that example. Whether they come to Christ on this side of the rapture or after, they need to have that moment and knowing what it looks like. We need to love on people. There are people that are going to go in the lake of fire. People that you work with, people you see every day, family members, friends. We're not doing this for fun, people. We're trying to save people from hell. We don't want them to go there. That is a place of eternal torment. They will never be resolved. You can't change your mind. Once you go to hell, you're done. You can't say, hey, God, I'm kidding. I changed my mind. It doesn't work that way. The rich man did that. He tried. And Abraham even said, sorry, dude, you had your chance. The other thing, live a life pleasing to God. I have to tell you, I see this more and more. As Christians, if Jesus came right now or any day this week, would he be happy with what you're doing? Or what's on your phone? Or the way you spoke to somebody? Or how you treat your spouse or your children? Would he be pleased with that? This is not something we take lightly. God can really be a convictor if you allow him. Are you doing all the things that he's called you to do? Are you loving on others? Are you forgiving? Are you being like him? Are you just doing the things you know you should be doing? Or are you doing the things you shouldn't? Certain apps on your phone, certain websites, certain people you're talking to, that's just not that much money on taxes. Anything that is not up to the standard of God is a sin in his eyes. Are we doing what he has called us to do? And then the last one, more important, the reason we're still here and not taken up with him the minute we become Christians is to share it with others. Now, I'm not telling you have to write a sign, the end is near. You ever seen those? The end is near. Somebody's really convicted. Maybe they had a really rough life and they were like, hey, don't be like me. Come, the end is near. The near part, we don't know what that means. It could be tomorrow, it could be 1,000 years from now. I think it's close, but that's just me. I'm a fleshy person. We need to share the gospel. If you are sitting in a situation always and you are never sharing the gospel with people around you and they don't know you're a Christian, you're doing something wrong. Now, we're not saying bash people over the head. But you know you're doing the right thing if somebody comes to you in those quiet moments, hey, I'm going through a lot. Can you pray for me? Like, there you go. That's what you want to be, the example. You're going to be persecuted. What did we just read? Church age. We're going to be persecuted. Expect it. You tell somebody, oh, no, I can't do that. I'm a Christian. Oh, you're one of those. Just smile. I know. But I'm praying for you. And they'll be like, ugh. It's okay. Because Jesus stood up for you. you should stand up for him. Maybe this doesn't make sense to you. Maybe you don't even see it because it is not something that God has revealed to you and may sound like just symbols. I'm here to tell you God loves you, and he came here to die for you. It doesn't make sense. But if it made worldly sense, it wouldn't be of God. God did this because we could never measure up. There was an Old Testament. There was rules, and nobody could do it. That's why the Messiah had to come, because we couldn't do it on our own. His death, his sacrifice washed over everything we did wrong, past, present, and future. Not that we go into sin willingly, but we will mess up. And God loves us for this. He loves his creation. He wants us to be with him. In order to be a Christian, all you have to do is accept his free gift. It's amazing to me how hard it is for some people to accept something that is so free, but so expensive to him. Do you think we set up this church for fun? I mean, we do. We have a great time. But it's not the only reason. The main reason is to reach people. We were all sinners. We were all people that shouldn't have been doing the things we did. And God saved us. And this is why we're here. So that you know he did that for you too. Let's pray. Dear God, I pray right now for every single one of the people here. I pray that they are impacted knowing that you are with us in every moment of whatever may come in these end times and church age, Lord. I pray for those who know you, Lord. May they hear your voice to live that life that pleases you. So that at any moment you come, they are representing you and reflecting your light. And I pray right now for those who don't know you, who have not accepted you, God. That knocking on the heart. You don't force anyone to come to you, Lord. Let them hear your voice, that whisper, that you have always been there with them. That you want them to be a part of your kingdom in heaven, and that your sacrifice was for them too. Help them to see this in front of them, Lord. Help them to see your sacrifice, and help them to know that you love them, and the people around them want them to come to you too, Lord. If you feel that tugging in your heart and you want to accept Christ, we're not going to embarrass you. We're not going to do anything to that. You can do it quietly in your heart. I know I did the first time. Just if everyone can pray with him and pray with me as well. Dear Lord, please forgive me for everything that I've done and everything that I might do. Thank you for your sacrifice. Thank you for what you did on the cross. Come into my heart. Come into my life. Show me who you are. And help me to walk in your ways. Be my Lord. Be my Savior. And fill me all the days of my life. We love you, Lord. And in your name we pray. Amen. All right. I hope this was helpful. Hope it provoked questions and made you want to go read your Bible more. In that case, we got a Bible for you. Oh, look at that. That was a good one, right? These are awesome Bibles. Our amazing Next Steps team has them for you. Just go get them. It's free if you don't have one yet. And you can mark it up. There was this old thing that people thought that they couldn't mark up their Bible. Person with their Bible messed up is probably having a much better life. So make sure that you are sharing with others, living a life that's pleasing. And please come to any of us if you need anything. Have an amazing week. We love you guys. Don't forget your shoe boxes. And don't leave too fast because we actually have a special lunch today. It's in the back. We have some pulled pork, a couple other things. Get some lunch. Enjoy.